Recording?
No.
You ready?
Oh, I am.
Huh?
I am. Accidentally. Ready, set, action.
You don't know technology at all. It's fine. It is fine. You can edit all this out. Hello, guys. Bastard. Not you guys. The person behind you guys. Now you're gonna cough.
Sorry.
So today I wanted to talk about a few things. So art habits. That's what we're going to be calling these videos. Art habits. Trying to build good art habits. So I'm going to talk about the things I'm going to be doing today. For those of you who are new and watching this for the first time, what you're going to need is a sketchbook, some paper to put underneath a page of your sketchbook, a Sharpie, a very large Sharpie. Some would say that this is too big, but I'd say to them that they are cowards. And then this, a smaller pen or Sharpie, and then a pencil. That's pretty much it for now, for this particular demonstration. Also, here's a book that I like. It's called Mistakes Were Made. I thought I would just talk about some books that I read through a little bit that I found have shaped kind of the way I think about things today. This is not necessarily an art book. This is just about our ability to, accept our mistakes. It's really hard for us to trust or believe in something completely different if we've been saying something the total opposite for a long time. It's called cognitive dissonance. It's like if you've been saying tomato, and then one day you find out it's supposed to be called tomato, but you've been telling everybody you've ever met has been tomato. It's really hard to change. And that book kind of talks about the psychology of that kind of stuff. And then the art that we're going to be studying today is going to be from Cheeks, Sean Galloway. The books are Gumshoes for Hire, Book 1, Concepts 1. I'm trying to learn more stylized stuff, and so this is the kind of stuff that I want to get better at. So let's go ahead and jump into the first part of our demonstration where I talk about some strategies to become better draftsmen. So one of the things that we can do, yesterday we were talking about circles and lines. Today what we can be talking about is also some more circles and more lines, but there's some things that we can do to practice our draftsmanship. So one of the things we can do is just perspective boxes. So you can just draw a straight line. As you can see, this is the straightest line that you will ever see in your whole life. And then just picking a vanishing point and then just drawing from that vanishing point a few more straight lines. And just keep doing this and just try to cut this in half. This is again a Scott Robertson technique that I've learned. And you just keep cutting things in half. Well, it's not in half. And again, you can cut this in half, then cut this in half, and then cut this in half, and cut this in half. And you start creating some sort of sense of perspective, right? And if you want to bring more to the grid, you can just cut this in half again, and then cut everything in half yet again. And this will start giving you some more practice. This line was a little off, but you can see how convincing of a perspective grid we can get from that. So you just fill the whole page of doing this, and you just change it up. So like, let's say, instead of it being so straight towards us, we do something like this. Again, cut it in half, cut it in half, cut it in half. So doing the alternative exercises that you saw before in the first video that I did, you can see that this being able to draw straight lines is very useful. I don't normally, this is great for me to practice too, because I don't normally do this often for one reason, and one reason only, is that I use digital medium. But it's good to have a really good ability to draw well, because it will prevent you from using a lot of the tools that come with Photoshop. But it is, nice to use a lot of those tools, And so this is like a really quick way. And then what you can do is try to draw a perspective box. So just basically draw the height of this box, and then draw vanishing points. And then what you can do here is grab the pencil, so that way you don't have so many dark lines. And you can make mistakes too with this. And then just try to find the box. In fact, there you go. Something like that. Might be a little skewed because I was turning it for the camera. But you can see it's kind of like a really simple thing. You fill the whole page up like this. Try to make really much better boxes than I did, obviously. But more practice the better you'll get, and the more you'll start seeing perspective. And this is just a simple thing. I would say this is a little bit more advanced. Once you start to think you can draw straight lines, I think this is a good time to start practicing this. Here's another advanced thing that you can start to do, is that you can do the same perspective line, draw like the much larger one. You don't even have to draw the vanishing point or whatever. This is pretty much the vanishing point. Cutting this in half, like we did before. So we cut it again in half. 2, 3, 4. And so now we have like this grid, like this kind of pyramid, but we're going to imagine it's a railroad track, right? And what you want to do is draw ellipses that touch the center point of each side of this thing, and you want to try to fill in that in. So that way when you look at it, it looks like ellipses going into distance. This is a good way to practice your ellipses. And what you can do is you can start to draw other kinds of pyramids that are basically the same idea. So I might need actually a center line. Same idea. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so you do the same idea, but now it's like skewed. This is going to be much harder. And try to be accurate. But again, you're trying to create a nice little perspective grid. Start to draw with this, what you've learned here, to try to make better ellipses. And it's going to be hard the first few times. Like you can see, my first ellipse is pretty oblong. But this is going to be very good mechanical practice for better draftsmanship. And that's pretty much it. And then we'll move on to the study. Alright, so this is the actual comic book, it looks like. So I was looking through here. This is actually pretty useful in terms of by looking at the final version of it. Is there a glare?
Not really.
Alright.
Yes, a little bit, just not too bad.
Okay. So, if you look at these are great. It's fantastic. But I don't care about the finished product. I love to look at the unfinished product, because the unfinished product has evidence of, has evidence of lack, or not evidence of lack, but it has evidence of like what he or she may have done to start drawing these. This is a he, but I'm just saying in general. So these are great. Like looking at this kind of sketch shows me that there's two things that are probably true about Sean. Sean can probably just draw this without building any construction, which is most likely true. But he has at one point had a sense of construction, because I've seen him draw, which is great. Like if you can see an artist draw, it will give you even more insight. Obviously, even if they're not talking about what they're drawing, if you pay attention and watch, rewind and watch again and again, you can start to see what they did. See, here's some really good shapes. Like he's very volumetric, and I think that's a lot of things that I think animation type people are good at. They're very good at volumes. Like you can see this character in 3 dimensions, even though it's very simple. Even though it's a 2D pieces of art, it is conveying a 3-dimensionality. And I think that is what is the number one misconception about simpler art, is that it doesn't necessarily have 2 dimensions. Even the most flattest of artwork has 3 dimensions. Like if you look at something like Adventure Time, which you would think, oh, it's like super flat, like Penn Moore doesn't know how to draw. You'd be mistaken. And then this is why you can't draw like him. And so, yeah, these are great. These are all fantastic. You can see he's drew like probably one of those animation type pencils, which are very light on the touch, like 2B type pencils. And I'm just analyzing. I haven't even drawn yet. Sometimes drawing isn't necessarily the way to start investigating. You can just look at it and think about it. And I'll just try to find some early adopted sketches before he started. So here's a good one right here. So actually not so much, but like it's cool to see like how this is like he probably did a lot of this in Photoshop. But see like he has problems with like ellipses and stuff, right? That are in perspective. You can tell because like everything else is clean. He probably used Photoshop or whatever tool that he uses to draw. But like when he was trying to draw that ellipse, he was just going for it. He drew several versions of it. But it doesn't matter at the end, right? Because he cleans it up, whether using Photoshop, elliptical tools, or whatever. I mean, the final drawing looks fucking amazing. So it's kind of like it's not a big deal. But I can tell that he also like needs a lot of lines to be able to determine a cylindrical shape for ellipse, as do we all, except for industrial designers. So I'll just go through here and see if I can find any real like loose sketch. It seems like he's pretty comfortable with his drawings. So there's nothing in here. Ah, finally found it. I was gonna say there's maybe nothing in here, and if that's the case, like I was talking about with the Mega Man stuff, that might be the case. Like you might find no rough sketches that will help you, and then you have to use the ones that are kind of not as rough as your guide. But here are some rough sketches, and here is proof of him just really exploring. And we'll love seeing this because it's evidence that he does a lot of like line drawing before he really considers it. Like, I mean, he doesn't draw the face of that character yet, you know? And so, let's investigate further. Okay, so I'm going to kind of tilt this just so I can see it and you guys can see it too. And draw like probably on the bottom half of my paper, just so that way it's better for you guys. Is that Spider-Man? Did you just draw Spider-Man? You just have Spider-Man in there. Well, I think it's just one of these creepy monsters. I have not read the book. I just got it for the book. Oh, switch on angles. And so what I'm going to do here is kind of look at this drawing, actually. This is like probably the most basic of drawing that he did. And go off of that. So he draws his torsos kind of like pillowcases, and this is something that I already kind of do, but I just want to feel it out. And this isn't the first time I've studied from Sean in terms of just looking at his artwork. I've studied from his artwork quite a bit. So I'm not going to draw the feet, I'm just trying to get a good sense of this. And then he draws this and this. This is something that I don't normally do. But drawing two center lines, what I've learned from that is that it allows you to be able to tell the direction of the torso. And so I'm going to be drawing lines in here that are helping me also see formality. So how does he handle mid-torsos and upper torso stuff? I clearly got something wrong here. So I'm looking back here, and there might be, like, look at the length of the body. It's very, very long. Where if you look at mine's actually very squat. And if you go back here and look, you can see, like, there's a slight bend, like, right at that point. Like, it's very subtle, but that is his lower waist. So basically, instead of just drawing a straight line without any sense of direction or form, I'm going to draw a straight line that kind of curves. You know, it might be super subtle, but if we were to draw another line, this is where we would start to see, like, here's the rib cage and here's the pelvic bone. And to see that, to me, already feels much more accurate to what he's been doing. And so I just need to start doing that, applying that to my own artwork. And now I can even make it's easier for me to start to see where I can throw in legs. So it's same thing with the arm. Let's see what he's doing with the arm. Arms are easy. I do a lot of arm studies, so like arms are generally easier for me to just pick up on. So yeah, I already feel much better about this. And so this center line is starting to be clear. It's like kind of like underneath the pecs of the character. And so, like this one drawing, not the ones that are awesome, the ones that he did that are freaking great. The one that is he just started gives you a lot of insight into terms of how he just thinks about the general pose of the character. So if we go back and look over here, you can see like these are great, these are fantastic. Just gives you a scope of how he sees the character, and so you can see he sees that bottom section as part of the torso, as one big torso that's part of it. So I'm gonna go here. And then I'm going to just start drawing from up here now. Let's do this. John's right up in my grill. And see, like, seeing that extra part and finding the center line is quite useful. And drawing a bunch of straights first, and then what he would do, once he had this, then he goes in here and tries to sculpt out the forms of these characters once he has a good sense of whatever these are. You know, drawing a bunch of straight lines, finding the center lines, you know. And this is not a very good drawing, what I just drew, but again, it's just learning. See, I made his arms way too long, so let's try again. maybe drawing larger gesture of these things will be useful. Yeah, I feel way more comfortable with this. And so, if this is hard for me to understand though, like if I still have a hard time understanding this, what I would start to do is start to construct what I'm used to seeing, on top of this drawing. But the goal is not to necessarily do what I do, because then I wouldn't be learning. Is to try to see how he sees it. Now, whether I use this in my own artwork is not important. Like if I draw just like this, what's important is that I learn something from this drawing that I can apply to my own drawings in the future. It's what makes you have style. See, I like how he draws his head. He draws it kind of like a potato with like a little wedge coming out of it. It's pretty cool. And so it's like clearly something that I do not do. I usually draw my heads like this, kind of like a guitar pick, or like a kernel of garlic, right? But he's drawing like a real sphere, like a real spherical edge to his stuff, which is cool. And I need to do more of that. And then you can apply ears to this and stuff like that, baseball caps. You can start doing your stylized character. And see, I'm drawing from a type of stylized stuff too that I'm influenced by, that is outside of the realm of cheeks. And this is the kind of stuff it's experiment. And I would fill this whole page with just this one pose, because I'm not nailing it. Like the first pose I kind of figured out, right? I'm like 1, 2, 3. I figured it out. I figure this is a victory, immediate. But this is not so much. And so I would spend this whole next 10, 20 minutes, or even an hour if I had to, until I figured this out, right? And then if I did figure that out, after 30 minutes or so, then I'd jump onto the next one. Maybe there's some evidence on this one, and I'd jump onto the next one or this one, or maybe the more elaborate drawings. So, one of these will give me some clues potentially to figuring that one thing. And then that's pretty much how I'd go about it. So right now I've been studying poses and just kind of gesture is what today's goal was for Cheeks, because I think he does that the best. And it's important to kind of have an objective, and that's my objective, right? And that's what I continue doing. For example, the Mega Man stuff was more about trying to learn the shapes and forms, like the geometric forms, where this was gestures and the proportions. Anyways, thank you guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you guys in the next one.